D-Day was just before Thanksgiving. Right before Christmas, I uncovered a pile of texts between her and her affair partner. These revealed the emotional affair was much deeper than she had initially admitted. I was angry and hurt, so I messaged her affair partner on WhatsApp with a simple message. "Hello, affair partner. It's Hamie, the wayward wife's husband and father of her 2 children. I wanted you to know that there are real human beings on the other side of this equation. Are you as willing to destroy a family as I am to defend it?" I told wayward wife I messaged him, and she freaked out. She immediately messaged him apologizing and told him that I had gone crazy. And also told him that she was sorry he got dragged into the mess. Since then, she deleted WhatsApp and deleted him from Facebook. Cut to today, where we are both in individual counseling and have our first marriage counseling session at the end of the month. We are taking a family trip in 2 weeks. I learned one of her girlfriends will be in the same city, and she plans to hang out with her when we are there. Her friend is a therapist. When she told her I had messaged her affair partner, her therapist friend had told her that I had gone mad. I told her I wasn't exactly excited to hang with this person because I didn't feel like she was a friend to me or our marriage. My wife got super angry and asked me what in the fuck am I talking about? We chatted today, and I explained that this woman was a trigger for me. Knowing that she said I had gone mad was challenging for me. My wife then said, "Everyone has said the same thing." So here I am, asking a bunch of strangers to validate my behavior and tell me I'm not crazy for messaging her affair partner. Update number 1. At the end of January, I noticed that she was still friends with him on Facebook. It was not acceptable to me, and that it was a clear boundary. She said she would unfriend him, and she did. Since then, we've been doing, at least on the surface, great. We are in both individual counseling and marriage counseling. We have been amicable, loving, and kind to one another, including being intimate. It seems that things have been trending in the right direction. At the end of February, I received a notice that my wayward wife had joined WhatsApp again. I calmly and respectfully questioned her if she was speaking to him again, and she adamantly said no. In fact, she said, if I still felt any desire to speak to him, I would be taking steps to end our marriage. She then offered her phone to me. I opened WhatsApp, and it was on the account creation screen, which she hadn't completed. Satisfied that they weren't speaking, we went on to have a lovely week together. This weekend, we went out for a friend's birthday and had a good time. When we got home, she lamented that she would have to go pick up our 15-year-old from a friend's house. I flirtingly said, "I'll go pick her up, but in exchange, you have to hang out and listen to music with me when I get back." Her response was oddly angry, and she basically accused me of trying to manipulate her. Taken aback, I told her I was just trying to be playful. I went and picked up our daughter. When I got back home, my wife had already gone to bed. Her behavior reminded me of how she was treating me while she was actively having the affair. Oddly, angry, resentful, confrontational. So, of course, I got suspicious that she was talking to her affair partner again. I opened up our computer and discovered that they had been in contact with each other the entire time and that she never cut off contact with him. In fact, she was literally talking to him on days when we had marriage counseling. I became incensed. The next morning, she sent me a text saying she was sorry. I asked her what she was sorry for, and she said the way she had spoken to me the night before. She then came into the bedroom and playfully pretended to give me a flying elbow. She then apologized again, and I told her not to worry about it, because it really didn't matter. She asked what I meant, and I told her that I knew she was still speaking to her affair partner. She immediately denied it. "No, I'm not. I swear, we aren't talking at all." At this point, I said, Are you really going to lie about it? I have the evidence." Incredulously, she said, "Yes, show me. I haven't been speaking to him." So, I pulled out my evidence. It was dozens and dozens of email notifications telling her that affair partner had sent her a message on Facebook Messenger and held it up for her to see. Her face went slack and she said, "Okay, I have been." At this point, I lost my cool and yelled. I'm not proud of it. I've yelled in anger maybe 3 times in my 48-year-old life. I said, "How can you continue to be so effing selfish? Why are you actively hurting me and the kids? What in the actual is wrong with you?" She just kept saying, "Okay," as she walked out of the room. It was at that point that I saw our 8-year-old was in the hallway and had heard me yelling. I felt and continue to feel awful about it. If I could take it back, I would. She then left the house and sent me a text saying, "I accept responsibility for my actions, but you can never do that in front of our son again." I told her to spare me the lecture. The way I see it, it's almost as if someone is stabbing me, and I scream, "Why are you stabbing me? Stop stabbing me!" And then the stabber goes on to lecture me about scaring the kids with my screaming. If you don't want me to scream, don't fucking stab me. So, I feel like all of our work in progress has been a complete sham. Not only has she never stopped talking to him, but she lied to the marriage counselor when he asked if she was still having the affair. When I pointed out that she lied to him, she said this, "I didn't lie to him. He asked if I was still having the affair." I said no, he didn't ask me if I was still talking to him. At this point, I said, there can be no therapy when you actively lie to the therapist, and asked her to stop talking to me. I then reached out to both her mother and father directly. I told them that because she continues to lie and be in contact with her affair partner, that I have no choice but to file for divorce. Not because I want to divorce her, but because I am trying to get her to snap out of the affair fog and gain an understanding of what is truly at stake. I explained the depth of her affair and offered to provide evidence should they feel they needed to see it. Both expressed extensive remorse, shock, and disgust at her actions. I promised them explicitly that I would not use the children to punish my wayward wife, nor would I prevent them from seeing them. Afterward, I told my wife that I had told her parents everything. She lost her shit with a big, "How dare you?" She then said respectfully, "I am asking you to stop talking to my parents." To which I replied, "I will show you the same respect you and the affair partner you continue to show me." She told me she owed me no further explanations and said that she was going to speak to a lawyer. I replied with a curt, "I hope they are good." I had encouraged her to speak with a lawyer back in November. She never did, so on some level, I'm actually glad. We have not spoken directly since. I have since scheduled an emergency couples counseling session tomorrow at 3 p.m. She has agreed to attend it. I don't know what I hope to get out of it. Perhaps just hearing her admit it in front of him will help me deal with it. Update number 2. The counselor asked what was going on, and I said it would be best if wayward wife explained. She admitted she never stopped contact with her affair partner and had been lying about it. She said she understood how painful it must be for me, etc. The therapist asked me how I was feeling. I broke down. I said I'm tired of being abused and that this was a hard boundary for me, that I will no longer allow myself to be manipulated. At the end of the counseling session, Dubiou said she refused to block the affair partner. "He's my friend. We've known each other forever. I'm not going to block him because we aren't talking about anything romantic." I told her this was unacceptable to me, and I refused to be in a marriage with a third party. The therapist encouraged her to hear what I was saying and what I needed. He also encouraged me to be careful about what I am saying if I'm not willing to follow through. The session ended with the agreement that we would reconnect the next day and discuss after having some time to reflect. The next day, she again refused to block him and suggested separation. I said the only way I would agree to separate if it comes with a contract that she will not contact him for the duration. Otherwise, it's just a charade and delaying the inevitable. The alternative is divorce. She said she needed a few days to reflect. At the end of the conversation, she said she may just delete Facebook. I have a call into my attorney for another consultation. I have also found a law firm here that specializes in mediated divorces and have suggested we have a consult with them. I had a meeting with my therapist the next day. She said, "Wow, at least she's being honest. I know it's not what you want to hear, but she's also not lying." Update number 3. A lot has happened over the past 2 months. After my last post, I had a long consultation with a top-rated divorce attorney. We discussed the different approaches to filing we could take, down to the level of the best way to have her served. I had a couples counseling session scheduled for the next day. I told the lawyer that I wanted to hold off on officially pulling the trigger until after that session. I went into the session fully expecting to hear that she still wouldn't block the affair partner, thus cementing my decision to file. You can imagine my surprise when she announced in the session that she had decided she wanted to work on things between us and then committed to deleting Facebook and Messenger. This came as a surprise. I had done a lot of weekly work with my individual counseling and felt I was emotionally ready to move forward with the process. I had basically already gone through the emotional hurdles to get to that point, only to have them upended by her decision. She went from refusing to block him to committing to no contact with him and expressing that she wanted to actively work on things. I asked her what brought about the sudden change of heart. She said, "I don't know, just a feeling, I guess." So with that, I told the lawyer to stand down while we moved forward with couples and individual counseling. Much to my surprise, she kept her word and deleted Facebook and Messenger. This is the first time I saw action that backed up her words. I'm not fooling myself. I know that she can still speak to this guy in any number of ways. But it was, at least on some level, symbolic. She said she understood how much her actions have hurt me, and openly wondered how I can even trust her again. I told her that trust is earned in drops and lost in buckets. The only way to regain my trust is through action instead of words like deleting Facebook. About a month ago, we traveled to the East Coast with our kids to attend her half-sister's wedding. There was initially a lot of anxiety about this because our parents live about an hour from each other. And if we are seeing one grandparent, we need to go see the others. And she was really nervous about seeing my parents. "It's obviously going to be very uncomfortable. I'm not sure I can do it," she said. I reached out to my parents and told them that regardless of how they felt about her and her actions, we are currently committed to working on things, and I would appreciate it if they did their best to be kind to her during our visit. They understood my request and agreed to do so. "We aren't happy with the decisions she's been making, but she's our daughter and we still love her," they said. They were very kind to her during the visit, and she expressed in counseling how much that had meant to her. During the trip, our physical intimacy was non-existent due to traveling with the kids. And when she got her period on the last day of the trip, it put a damper on near-term plans of physically connecting when we got back. When being intimate didn't materialize over the next 2 weeks, I expressed my frustration. I stated clearly that I was unwilling to go back to a marriage where we weren't physically intimate on a regular basis. For me, that's once a week at a minimum. I refuse to fall back into old habits, and since at least some component of her emotional fare is being blamed on her need to feel desired, this seems like a critical thing that we need to work on. The irony in all of this is that I have always had the higher drive. So, I don't know if it's that she wanted to feel desired as much as she wanted to feel desired by someone who isn't me, but that's a topic of its own. A few days after that chat, I was about to hop in the shower and feeling a little frisky. I texted her and told me she should come to meet me. She did, and things escalated quickly, coming to a screeching halt when our son started knocking on the door, asking if I knew where Mom was. We ended up reconvening that night, and it was great. Fast forward to last week's couple session. I told the therapist that I had expressed my intimacy needs to her, and that for me, it is a critical part of our path forward. He's Gottman trained and a sex therapist as well, and ended up giving us some intimacy homework. We are both laughing about the awkward specifics, but have committed to doing it. There is still a lot to do regarding the unpacking of how our relationship ended up in this spot and whether reconciliation is even possible. To that end, we have gone from couples counseling every 2 weeks to weekly because I want to build and maintain momentum. Life is messy because people are messy. I want to express how thankful I am to this community. The collective stories and struggles have made me feel less alone. Happy to expand on details as there is a lot of stuff I didn't include. Update number 4. Last week, my wayward wife was acting sketchy, protecting her phone. I walked up to her texting last week. She panic closed the screen. She assured me she was not speaking to an emotional affair partner and gave me her phone to prove it. I confirmed she wasn't, but still had that little voice in the back of my head. This is just you being paranoid again. Cut to yesterday, and wayward wife asks if she can meet her girlfriend who is moving out of town for happy hour. I said, sure thing, and she leaves the house at 4. Our 15-year-old daughter needed to be picked up from her friends at 9 p.m. So, at 7 p.m., I text wayward wife and ask what the plan is. I get no reply to my text. I call her twice, no answer. Pop open, find my iPhone, and see she's sitting in the parking lot of a public park. Call her again, no answer. An hour later, and she is still there. So I send a friend to that location to check it out, and sure enough, he finds her making out with some dude in a BMW. I had my friend record a video so that I had undeniable evidence. He sent me the video, and I sent the video to her while she was still in the car with him. I have his license plate. I have his name. It turns out he's an executive of the same level at the same company I work for. An hour later, she replied with clearly the end. She then got out of his car and into her own to pick up our daughter, 30 minutes late. My daughter immediately noticed she wasn't acting normally. After pressuring her to explain what was going on, my wife decided it would be a good idea to tell our 15-year-old everything. I spent most of the night comforting her and biting my tongue while she said how much she hates her mom. This morning, my wife sheepishly slipped into the room and tried to climb into bed to lay with me. I replied with, "Oh hell no," and got up. We have couples therapy tomorrow. My wife announced she was going to write the therapist a letter and would CC me if I like. I said, what's the point? We should just cancel the appointment. She got quiet and said he could be helpful as we figure out the next steps. Anyway, so that's where we are at. Time to give my attorney a $10,000 retainer and move on with my life. I have contacted my daughter's therapist to let her know what's going on and to schedule a visit. Update number 5. My wife decided not to show up for couples counseling today. I went out to speak to her 15 minutes before the meeting to see if she would be joining me, and found her somewhat catatonic and lying on the couch. Are you going to join the call today? No. Are you okay? No. Is there anything I can do for you to help you? No, you are sweet, but no. So I went into couples counseling alone. My wife had written the therapist a very short note explaining that she had met a guy, had been communicating with him for a month, and then met up with him and got caught, and therefore will not be attending today's session. The therapist was super concerned for my well-being. He said he was very sorry that we were in this place because he always looked forward to speaking with us. I asked him if he's ever seen something like this before, and he said yes. I asked him if he's seen situations like this turn around, and he said yes, but it's important to note that each of those situations had two people who wanted to do the work, and right now you are alone. He is concerned for my wife's well-being. He said it's clear her behavior is erratic and destructive, and she needs help. I asked what I could do to get her help, and he said there is nothing you can do. She needs to hit rock bottom. For some, that's a DUI. For some, it's losing custody of their children. And if you want to help her, you may need to bring the bottom up to meet her. I'm not telling you that you should divorce her. I just want you to understand that things will likely need to get worse for her before they get better. He said I should keep the meeting with him for next week. If my wife decides to show up, he'll be there, without judgment. If I show up alone, he'll be there for me too. I thanked him and then called my daughter's therapist. I told the therapist I wanted to get my daughter in for an emergency session if possible, and she asked what was going on. I gave her the high-level details. She was shocked and then asked if I had time to go into more detail. I spoke to her for about 45 minutes, explaining the whole situation to her, from the emotional affair to the roadside. She was horrified. I'm so sorry. This is an awful situation, and it's very messy. It is not okay for your wife to do this to your daughter. I'm also incredibly worried about your wife's mental health. I've known all of you for years, and you always seemed like such a loving and happy family. Her behavior is extremely out of character. It's highly erratic and destructive. Do you know if she has any history of mental illness in her immediate family? My therapist said. I said no, but went on to explain her drinking has increasingly become a point of concern. I also said that I had noticed the annex for our dog had been emptied out. I found the bottle of 30 pills from back in December totally empty in the guest room she's been sleeping in. I also found a bottle of Tenetivan that she was prescribed 2 weeks ago that only had 2 pills left. The point being, pills are missing. This caused her to be even more concerned. My daughter has an appointment with her tomorrow at 11. She wants me to come along and said she will ask my daughter when she wants me in the room. We'll go with whatever is most comfortable for her. I will ask the therapist tomorrow how best to approach the subject with him. He is 9 and mercifully unaware of what is happening because he's too busy collecting hate mail from the adults he's wrecking in Elden Ring. I am taking medical leave at work. I spoke to HR today and got approval to take a month off. I have individual counseling tomorrow afternoon. I have contacted a divorce mediator and scheduled an appointment with the 2 of us for next week. I am trying to avoid being in a situation where I am paying for 2 lawyers to fight each other over my money. I also want to keep things as amicable as possible. I am shutting off my direct deposit and redirecting it to a new bank account, so as to immediately separate finances. I am focusing on my children, myself, and my wife's well-being in that order. There are some more updates that I have not included in this video. I am planning to make a part 2 for this story if people want more updates to it. Comment down if you want me to make a part 2 of this story. Also, make sure to subscribe to my channel and ring the notifications bell